India is set to undertake its biggest ever hydro project, set to connect the Indus River with the Ravi and Beas rivers. The mega project involves construction of a huge 200-kilometer long canal, drilling as many as 12 large tunnels through the Himalayan mountains, and eventually connecting the Indus with not just the Ravi and Beas, but even the Ganga Canal in Rajasthan and the Yamuna river systems. A senior Jal Shakti Ministry official was quoted by the New Indian Express saying, quote, "Diverting water from the Indus River requires complex and heavy tunneling across Zaskar and Pir Panjal ranges, which is not economically feasible. But if required, we will do it also, as we can implement advanced engineering," unquote. Islamabad is rattled. There have been widespread protests in the Sindh region over water shortages and diversion of the Indus water to the Punjab province. Calls for an independent Sindhu Desh are growing stronger, even as calls for Baloch independence gain more traction. So Pakistan's Water Resources Secretary Saeed Murtaza has sent 4 letters now to India's Jal Shakti Ministry, according to Hindustan Times.
देखें कि beggars can't be choosers.
The Prime Minister Modi government has ignored them all and made it clear terror and water will not flow together and the Indus Water Treaty shall remain in abeyance.
अभी तो हमने कहा है कि हमने इसको abeyance में रखा है, वहां पसीना छूट रहा है.
Water Resources Secretary of India, Debashri Mukherjee, was quoted by the Mint saying, quote, "The obligation to honor a treaty in good faith is fundamental to a treaty. However, what we have seen instead is sustained cross-border terror by Pakistan targeting the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir," unquote. A few days ago, even the World Bank had also made it clear that it will not intervene in India's decision to suspend the lopsided 1960 treaty. Islamabad is still bearing the consequences of the Pahalgam terror attack, in which 26 Hindu tourists were eliminated by a Pakistan-based terror group in Kashmir. This is the latest in a series of attacks by UN-designated terror groups Jaish and Lashkar, whose headquarters were destroyed in Indian military's precision strikes deep inside Pakistan. Meanwhile, India is also conducting a feasibility study to connect the Chenab River to canal systems that feed Indian states of Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan. The Chenab-Ravi-Beas-Sutlej Link Canal project proposes to divert 15 to 20 million acre-feet of water to these western Indian states. According to reports, several other water storage and run-of-the-river projects will be fast-tracked to utilize more water from the river system for agricultural as well as industrial purposes. The IWT abeyance is the most hard-hitting in a series of measures implemented by the Modi government post the Pahalgam terror attack, from closure of the main border crossings between the two countries to removal of Pakistani diplomats, launching of Operation Sindoor and suspension of Pakistani visas. Prime Minister Modi came up with a mighty response within days of Pahalgam. Before India launched Operation Sindoor, the Pakistani government had been stating that any suspension of the IWT will not be tolerated. Shafqat Khan, Pakistan's Foreign Ministry spokesperson, had stated, quote, "Any attempt to stop or divert the flow of water belonging to Pakistan will be considered an act of war and responded with full force across the complete spectrum of national power," unquote. However, just after 72 hours of Indian military operations, Pakistan surrendered its demands, pinged up the hotline and called Indian military to request a ceasefire. But why is Pakistan so agitated by India's decision? How exactly will the suspension of the Indus Water Treaty affect Pakistan's future? The Indus Water Treaty was negotiated with the help of the World Bank back in 1960. This is a pact that allows both India and Pakistan to share water of the 6 rivers in this river system. Now, India has control over 3 eastern rivers, namely Ravi, Beas and Sutlej, while Pakistan on paper has control over 3 western rivers, including Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, for domestic, industrial and agricultural purposes. However, shockingly, from the total system, Pakistan gets 80% of the water, while India gets only 20%, despite being the upper riparian state. I'm surprised that the Nehru government agreed to such a lopsided agreement in the first place. Still, India honored the agreement and the IWT survived 4 major wars. But now, repeated terror attacks by Pakistani-based terror groups as well as growing water demands inside India have led to the treaty's suspension. Now what's more, this is a bilateral treaty and no foreign body, including the World Bank or the International Court, has any jurisdiction to intervene. For Pakistan, the agricultural sector is a major source of food and foreign exchange. Any disturbance in water resources can have a large impact on the country's GDP. According to latest reports, Pakistan has already reported a 13% reduction in water flow within just a couple of months of India's decision. The situation is likely to get worse as India fast-tracks these major canal projects. Moreover, the country will have further repercussions as New Delhi has also suspended information sharing and water data. This means no prior information on potential floods. So is Pakistan left with no other option but to plead and beg India to review the decision? Pakistan individually cannot overrule or legally challenge the treaty's abeyance without the consent of India. Simultaneously, any kind of legal arbitration initiated by Pakistan's side will not be valid until India chooses to comply with it. However, any decision taken over the Indus water system will not affect the majority of water flow to Pakistan immediately because of the current infrastructure present on ground. But the risk of potential possibilities can damage Pakistan's confidence in its own water resources management. But what do you believe? Can terror and water flow together? Leave a comment with your opinion, hit the like button and subscribe to Inconnect News.